I'm Georgie from Teacher's Friend, and for the past 12 years, I've been living the ultimate life of freedom, teaching and traveling across the globe. I'm so grateful to have visited 22 countries and taught in 7 of them. Today, I'm thrilled to introduce Tucker, one of my ex-students and great friends, who's here to share his incredible journey. Since getting TEFL certified, so many opportunities have opened up for him in ways he never expected, from teaching abroad to managing a centre and beyond. If you're curious about how TEFL can create a world of possibilities for you, this is an interview you'll definitely want to watch. Hey, this is Georgie from Teacher's Friend, and today I am interviewing the wonderful Tucker. He is here from England, and he was my student 2 years ago. I can't believe it's been 2 years. Time flies, right?
Too quick, too quick.
I know, right? So, if you could start by just telling me where you've been the past 2 years and how you ended up taking a TEFL course in Asia, that would be great.
So, how I took a TEFL course in Asia, I was in Bali at the time. I'd done a lot of volunteer work out in Bali prior to doing my course with you. And having done a lot of volunteer work in teaching English, but not having any qualifications behind it, I wanted to try and get the qualification just to further embed my confidence and try and expand on my skill set to be able to offer more validity to the students that I was working with.
Yeah,
And
I think a lot of people end up doing that. So they might teach a little bit as a volunteer, and then they're like, oh, actually, I quite like this. So that's often like a pathway that people take.
yeah, definitely. And just by like doing the course, it opens your mind to so much. And just my teaching has been transformed from doing the course to the point that since leaving Asia and returning back to the UK, I've been able to land myself a couple of employed opportunities, working both with British students, but also international students as well. So that's what I've been doing over the past 2 years.
Oh, that's amazing. So, how do you think teaching English has prepared you for or helped you transition into other fields of remote work or work in general?
So I think the transferable skills that you gain from teaching abroad, working with internationals, it just gives you a really wide range of skills that are extremely attractive to employers when you're interviewing for different roles.
I think that's
Like,
really important because a lot of people, they tell me like, oh, I've got so many transferable skills, blah, blah, blah. But then people's biggest worry about teaching abroad is, oh, I've got a career. It's going to make my career look bad. But then when people have done it, they're like, no, it's literally helping my career.
it makes you stand out, depending on
Mm.
obviously where you're trying to apply and who you're interviewing with. But what I've found in a lot of my interviews is by having this really quite unique experience of having, spending time abroad, working with different cultures, communities, and doing things that aren't necessarily in the field that you're applying for, but have got all the transferable skills like communication, being able to network and to build relationships with people of completely different backgrounds, belief structures, etc. Like it shows how diverse you can be in any working environment, I believe. So like for me, I found it extremely effective to like help me land opportunities back here in the UK, whether it be within education and teaching or otherwise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And how do you think immersing yourself in the different cultures while teaching has shaped the way you look at life now or has shaped your outlook?
It's completely transformed the way I look at life, at least, because it gives you the opportunity to see how life can be approached. Like, the culture that you grow up with is just one way of approaching life. And by spending time abroad in different cultures, different religious communities, you get to see different approaches to life that just challenge the way that you might have seen life growing up in terms of the things that you value, the things that you think are important might change, by spending time in communities that, especially, with, having spent a lot of time in Southeast Asia, a lot of these are developing nations or developing communities, and getting to see the fact that despite being in a developing environment, life is still thriving for people. And I think you get the opportunity to just recognize life in a new way. You develop new found belief structures, or at least for myself, I've developed so much gratitude for the things that I have in life. I've been able to recognize the things that I do actually need, the things that are nice luxuries to have, but these are my necessities. These are the things I actually need for having a good life, for being happy, for being stable. And it's just given me, I think gratitude is the biggest thing that I've took away from the time that I've spent working abroad. And it makes, no matter what you do, whenever you return back to your home nation or if you continue exploring the world, I just think it gives you a completely new perspective and a newfound way of appreciating what life is and what life has to offer. That's been my experience, at least.
And what about, do you think it's changed your view of like the 9-5 and like the get married, have kids, buy a house? Because obviously we have this is the narrative in the West for a lot of people. And even me, like, so I've been doing this for going on 15 years, and I still carry that with me from the West. And I still get friends, even a friend the other day who's very close, who really like promotes what I do. Like he's now starting his family, and before that he never really said anything, and then he was like, oh, like, when are you cracking on with it? And I was like,
Mm.
who are you, to judge me in
To
my
impose
life
that.
when I'm not judging you? So anyway, what do you think you've learned about that in terms of life and what you want from life, I guess?
Well, yeah, well, I think, you're right in that ideal and that notion is kind of embedded in us for our culture. But I think through travel and through spending time working abroad, working with different communities, and like I say, just seeing how life can be approached in different parts of the world, it completely changes your perspective. And in terms of the 9 till 5, like your approach to work and like building a life for yourself, I think that through travel you have the opportunity to recognize that there is so much more to offer in life than just fighting for stability, and trying to develop a state of comfort. Like, I mean, it's not all glorious, as you'll know, like, spending time abroad can be really, really difficult, living in, a space where your native language may not always be spoken, living in a space where the cultural beliefs and behaviors are so different to what you know, and it can be really uncomfortable at times. It can be overwhelming, like I'm sure anybody who's spent long-term time traveling has been like, what on earth am I doing? like, but you grow so much from it. And I think it's just, for myself and most people that I've met that have done it, I feel like it's very difficult now to imagine just going back to a 9 till 5 kind of lifestyle. It's very difficult to imagine just going to, same stuff, different week. Like it's like life is just so much more enriching, I find, when you're, out in the world, traveling, exploring, pushing yourself. The relationships that you get to build, the networks that you get to build and create are worth so much more, in my opinion, than just trying to find stability in life, and trying to
Yeah.
get a stable income. It's like, again, a lot of us would have had difficulties with money whilst we're traveling, but it's worthwhile no matter what. Like, even if you are struggling and even if, things do get difficult, the range of experience that you get to gain is something that you get to keep with you forever. You never lose that,
Mm.
and I
Yeah.
think no matter how long you do it for, those years will stay with you for eternity. It is worth so much more than any kind of stability or affluent lifestyle that you could build back home.
I think that's really important, the fact that it stays with you. And I do think there's some people that they go travel, they go and teach English, they go abroad, and they're like, you know what, I'm going to go home now. Like, this isn't for me. Like, we've got one student that's going back, and she's going to go and work with people in probation, and she's going to finish her social work, a master's in social work. And I'm like, that's amazing. But I just think doing it before you do that lets you choose, as opposed to just following what everybody else does, because for so many people it's not for you, but you're just told like that's what you do. So yeah, I think the whole that it stays with you forever, and I'm sure there's stuff that she learned that she will take with her on this more conventional career path. So it's not that I'm like anti, get a career, get married, have kids, but I think just being aware that there's another way, or there's lots of different ways, makes you feel more in control of like this life that we have and how you're going to spend it.
Definitely. I think like by just recognizing that it is choice, like by
Yeah.
putting yourself out there, going and exploring the world and exploring who you are and what you do care for and what your passions are, like you've got the opportunity to choose at that point. Do you want to, continue exploring the world? Do you want to continue just like putting yourself out there, taking big risks and just having, continuously new and authentic experiences? Or are you actually pleased with the time that you've done and now feel ready to be like, yeah, I'm going to go back to, or go to wherever it is that I want to build a life and actually commit to it because I know how important that is to me now. Like it just gives you the opportunity to recognize what are your values, what do you care about, what do you want from life, and you do have a choice. Like it's not it's not inevitable that you have to
Yeah.
do this, sort of regular, stable, routine
Yeah.
lifestyle that we all get pushed into.
Yeah, no, that's really good. And I'm so glad that you found that as well. I guess one of the things that I wanted to ask you was, what do you think are some of your standout moments from when you came abroad? It doesn't have to be anything profound, but like if I asked you like best memories of your time when you came to do the TEFL and when you did some teaching, what would they be?
Mm-hmm. The list is endless, honestly. Like I feel like I could talk for days about some of the experiences that I've had. I think one of the biggest takeaways I had from the very first time I went traveling, spending time in Bali in Indonesia, is I had quite a profound moment where everything kind of hits where I'm like, I now know who I am, I know who I want to be. I now have an image of what I want my life to look like. I know what I care for, I know what's important to me, I know what my values are. Like, I think, as like a virgin experience, like when you first do it, when you go out there, like the potential for that kind of life changing moments is so great, because
Mm.
you're so outside of your comfort zone, you're so far away from everything that you know, and it does really challenge you to really like look at your life. And that was easily the biggest takeaway and biggest like, moment that I've had because it was kind of like a single moment. I'm like, it all makes sense now. I know who I be, and that was a really profound moment. But in terms of like more tangible experiences, so I think the relationships that you get to build, again, these are things that you get to keep with you. You can like, take those relationships, you can build upon them, or you can just have them as these memories that live with you forever. Like some of the connections that I've made, the very first time I went out there was 8 years ago, and
Wow, that's
I've
amazing.
still got, as good of friendships with the people that I met back then, despite us all having gone on and done our different things and lived in different parts of the planet. Like we've still got those connections, still got those relationships, and that's an amazing takeaway as well.
I think that's
Um,
something that I noticed that it's hard to explain to people back home, but I have some relationships that I'm just as close with them as I am with friends back home, even though I've had friends that I've known back home since I was like 3. But these friendships now that started out as like a long distance friendship because I knew them a year ago are people that I've known in like 6 years, 8 years, 10 years now. And I think you're always going to meet a slightly different kind of person that's chosen to be in the same country as you, especially if they've also chosen to teach English on the same kind of course as you. So, for example, they've chosen to do it face to face because they're that kind of person that wants the face to face training. It just makes you, I think, so much more matched in terms of personality than the kind of person that you might just happen to be friends with at work because there's only like 5 of them and this one's your best option. I think that's something that really hit home for me as well.
no, definitely. I think, like you say, the compatibility and like the potential for a true connection is so great because everybody's in a similar position. When you're going abroad, studying TEFL or teaching abroad, like you're in an environment and in a network where people are chasing life. People want to make life happen and they're prepared to take the risks to do that. And the way that you develop your relationships, I think, is so quick. Like, you know, I don't know if it has been the same for you, but I've always found when I'm away, traveling, working abroad, the relationships that you build grow so quickly. I think because the intensity of the environment, like, you know, being in a different place, being in a different culture, like,
Especially if you don't have any other friends, then
yes,
you go
yeah,
to them a lot more than you would do.
you connect so quickly, and the relationship that you can build is so intense, you know, and it's very hard to describe it and explain it to anybody that's never done it before, you know. But those
Yes.
relationships, you know, even if they don't last, you know, the 6, 7, 8 years afterwards, the relationships, like, you know, some of the best friendships I've had have been in like 2 weeks, you know,
Yeah,
just,
yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah.
you
And
know,
then
known
they
somebody
just
for
stay
2
with
weeks,
you.
and they've like, I will have them in my heart forever, you know. But, you know, you have also got that potential to meet people who just stick with you, you know, and they keep inspiring you because they're still doing it, you know. And if you can find those people that you just connect with and they're chasing life in a similar way to yourself, like, that's an amazing connection to have for life. That, yeah, I think it's very hard to translate to anybody that's never done it before, just
Yeah,
how
for
influential
sure.
those relationships.
Hi. I just wanted to jump into this video to let you know that there are millions of people all over the world that are eager to learn English from someone just like you. Teaching English can be your gateway to the life of freedom and flexibility that you've always dreamed of. So if you're ready to explore the world and do something different, then please click on the link below or somewhere around this video, and I'll give you the step-by-step guide and help and assistance in order to make your dream of teaching abroad a reality. I look forward to speaking to you soon. Bye. Okay, I've got two more questions to ask you. So one of them is that I know that actually you've decided that teaching English isn't for you. And so that's something that I really want to talk to you about, because I feel a lot of people are, oh, English teaching isn't for me. But I'm like, that's okay. Like, because to me, TEFL is like this doorway into so many other opportunities and so many other experiences. And you've gone and done it now, which obviously normally that's most people go and do it. And it's okay. It doesn't have to be like your career or what you do forever, and you don't have to have a plan. So just briefly, what do you think you learned from your TEFL about what you want to do for a career and for yourself, or because of your TEFL? What do you think you've learned?
Yeah, I think, well, doing the TEFL has pushed me to take on opportunities that I otherwise wouldn't have been able to, first of all. Just by having that validity, you know, it gives you the potential to explore things that you wouldn't otherwise, you know, in some cases be able to. So it's given me the chance to kind of, like, you know, test the water in different environments, you know, both working abroad and working back here in the UK. The transferable skills that I've been able to gain from testing those out, you know, have made me so much more employable. And, you know, the confidence that I've gained as well from being able to explore all these different fields is something that I'm very grateful for. But it's took me time to recognize that teaching English isn't necessarily my passion. And it's took me time to recognize just how much of a doorway that it actually is, though, because although I know that this isn't my thing, this isn't the thing that truly ignites me, it has put me in the kind of environment where I'm in the spaces where I do experience that fire. Like, you know, it's just sort of like, okay, although, you know, being the classroom teaching material may not be me, I really love working with communities. I really love helping people to grow and develop and having the opportunity to expand on their skill set, you know. And so maybe coaching is a way for me, you know, or also just by, you know, especially with the teaching that I've done abroad, I'm in an environment where there's lots of people who are doing different things, and I'm able to network with people from, you know, such a wide range of fields, you know, experts in different things, you know, digital nomads, entrepreneurs, you know, business folk. Like, just by being in those environments, the people that you're able to connect with is just so much greater than what I've ever found back in the UK. You know, when you're
Mm-hmm.
just in employment, you tend to sort of stick to the same kind of people. Like, you know, the potential for veering out and connecting with people from extremely different, like, you know, backgrounds and fields and aspirations is a lot more limited, you know, back in the UK, or as far as I've experienced anyway. Whereas when I'm
Mm.
teaching, living abroad. Like the melting pot is so huge of people who are doing widely different things, and the potential that you then have to then be like, okay, this is something I could do as well, you know. And by talking about your skill sets and your experiences, the amount of times I met somebody be like, hey, well, I do this thing, would you be interested in getting involved with that? And so, although I've kind of reached a point with my teaching where I'm just sort of like, okay, maybe this isn't the passion, maybe this isn't the long term plan. It has put me in the kind of space where I can be like, well, there are so many people around me doing things that I find fascinating and that I find engaging and do inspire my passion. Like, I'll continue exploring that. I'm in the
Yeah.
right place through having this, as a back step. I'll always have that to rely on
Yeah.
and depend on, and I can always come back to that. But it's can't find the right word to say it, but it's just the potential is endless.
Yeah.
Just by being in those kind of environments, like
Mm-hmm.
the opportunities that this gives you access to is life changing. And I don't know what the answers are completely yet, but I do know that it's going to be really exciting figuring that out.
I'm so excited for you. This is one of my favorite parts of like when I work with people. I'm like, like you've just opened this whole world of opportunities that you just never knew existed. So my last question for you is if there's people sat at home that are debating doing a TEFL, but they're not sure like whether English teaching is for them, or they're like, well, I could just go and volunteer, or I could go and do X, Y, Z. What would you say to them to encourage that this is a great opportunity?
I think it's hard not to just say, just do it. I think, a lot
You're
of
like
times
not the first person that said that to me. That's my motto. I'm like, just do it. You have no
I feel like
idea.
everybody who has gone and done it will have the exact same thing to say, just do it. Just put yourself out there, go for it. Like the risk is worth taking, you know. It is risky and it is scary. Like, if you've never done it before, if you've never traveled before, if you've never spent extended time before in a different country, a different culture, a different language, like it is very, very scary and can be very overwhelming. And when you first do it, it might be a bit like, whoa, what am I doing here? But if you can stick to it, the potential, like I say, the relationships that you get to build, the potential networking opportunities that you can gain and get to explore, and just the experiences that you get to have and keep. Even if things don't work out, it can be life changing anyway. Just by putting yourself
Yeah.
out there, taking the risk. If things don't work out, in the way that you're hoping for, big whoop, you've done it. Like you've put yourself out there.
And as a
Just
minimum, you're not going to ever be wondering, like, what if, right?
yeah,
You're not going to be thinking, what
yes,
if teaching was my calling? Or like, what if I had gone and traveled? Like, you're never going to be, I like, it's so, so, so cliche. But when people say, like, you never regret the things you did do, you just regret the
yes, no,
things you,
exactly.
okay, aside from some obvious examples, then yeah.
But yeah,
Then yeah,
no,
you're not going to regret it.
yeah, like it has the potential for it to be life changing as an experience. I think is too big for it to not be
Yeah.
worth the risk.
And I think there's a big thing with like following your nose. Because, so for example, I went traveling for 6 months to go and teach English, and it's been nearly 15 years. And I've lived in like 7 different countries. I've traveled to, I counted the day, I think it was 22 countries in that time. And I've fallen in love. I've become a digital
yeah,
nomad. Like, and actually it makes me almost like emotional just thinking about like I did not see any of this coming. Like I thought I'd go back to England and settle down.
yeah,
And yeah, so it really, really does just open doors to the unexpected and the unimaginable. And again, yeah, I don't think either of us can like express that enough.
yeah. No, absolutely. Like as an experience, there's so much to gain, and I think the skills that you can gain as well from doing
Yeah.
it as well. For
Yeah,
myself,
yeah.
like the languages that I've picked up, like
Oh my gosh.
I'm able,
So I just have to
yeah,
interrupt it. So I am awful, like absolutely shocking at learning languages. And I am an English teacher, but I'm like, yeah, I'm good at teaching. I'm not a good student. And Tucker here, like, rocked up. And yes, he had been to Indonesia before, but he's like just speaking like fluent Bahasa. And I'm like, excuse me, you're putting me to shame. And I've had other students as well that have picked it up pretty easily. And I'm just like, it's like one of my, like, you know, that thing that bugs you. For me, it's like the fact that I don't speak another language. Anyway, I just had to interrupt there because it's a bugbear of mine. But no, it is amazing when you do that, for sure.
Yeah, just as an example of some of the skills that you can gain that you wouldn't expect to
Hmm.
pick up, because it's not only like for myself, I can speak Indonesian quite confidently from my time in Indonesia, but from the exact same times in the exact same place, I've picked up bits of German, bits of French, bits of Spanish, because you're networking, you're meeting people from so many different corners of the planet, and just by being like, I want to be able to engage with you. So just to be able to do the greetings, like, I never expected to go to Indonesia and pick up German or to pick up French.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like I think some of the soft skills that you can build from doing experience like that are things, again, when it comes to employability, whether it be abroad or back in your home country, like the skills that you can pick up through travel and through, spending the time studying a course abroad and trying to work and teach, like it makes you so employable. It makes you so attractive, as an individual, because you've done
Thanks.
things you've done things, you've done life, and you've proven that you've got the confidence to put yourself out there, and having this wide range of soft skills, whether it be to do with the field that you're looking for or not, are things that will make you so much more attractive to people, not only in your personal life but professionally as well. Like,
Yeah.
there's just so much potential gain from doing this.
Well, it's been amazing to speak to
Mm.
you. Thank you so much. And it's always good to catch up with my students. I mean, we've been in touch. I'm in touch with most of my students, but we had a really big catch up today before this call. And yeah, obviously keep me updated. Let me know everything that you're doing. And I really appreciate your time. And thank you very much. And we'll be in touch.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Jordan. It's been awesome.
You're welcome. Thanks a lot. Speak to you soon. Bye. Thanks so much for watching. If this story inspired you and you're ready to take that first step towards a life of adventure and freedom, then go ahead and book a free consultation with me. I'll guide you through how to get started with your TEFL journey and help you make it a reality. And don't forget, if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to stay updated for more tips and stories about teaching and traveling the world. I'm here to support you every step of the way. See you next time. Bye.